기별은 내게 채워 나도 모르는 길에 눕고 위협해요 쟤네는 주먹자 얘기들은 흐르는 일은 나 all the way to you 내가 넌 한때는 날들 하지만 이게 수많은 빌 대는 진작에 처음으로 보는 심장을 스치는 좀 바로 내는 기별은 걸 책분이 좀나 옆에 오야 말하는 날 제가 뭔가 시간이 되돌려준다면 어쩜 내가 좀 더 솔직한 두 번째 생각 나만 아는 알고맨 얼굴도 추억을 초라내어 오래 버텨져 나를 보는 그 미소리 겨자 밀어다는 그런 또 사랑은 소리 요요같이 소리 조금 많이 어차피 오늘 끝에 있는 건 내가 시작에 있다면 I don't wanna listen to it 너만 소리 형은 너무 많은 외로 I don't wanna listen to it 그냥 너무 무서웠어 지금 내가 너를 사랑했던 적이 I own 늦었지만 넌 진실했다고 너만 나를 사랑했다고 You're my chill 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 What more can I say You're my chill 같은 것을 향해 걸었었는데 이것이 우리의 마지막 길 영원히 많은 건 우리였는데 다처럼 서로를 부수는 같은 꿈을 그때 생각했는데 그것만 빌어서 꿈을 내게 내 심장이 찢겨져 달아난 불쾌감으로 고통과 매력 결국은 돌아지 않게 좋았지 좋았지 You're my hair You're my hair You're my feel You're my feel What more can I say You're my Yeah 이별은 내게 기회야 Oh no 눈물 따위는 사자 내가 좋든 아름다운 이 별 따윈 I'm standing 이제 시작해 Oh take it easy 천천히 심장을 돌려줘 가는 그래 좀 깎인 나버린 파프미는 지를 밟아줘 매일 그 땅에 너는 난 시작해 가기 좀 밝혀버린 내 심장을 싹보이 해보죠 그렇지 그래 거기야 뭘 막서는 네가 원하는 그 결말은 네 망설임 없이 어서 죽여주기 Yeah buddy Yeah buddy 차원이 죄마저 낫지 않게 이게 진짜 너고 이게 진짜 너지 이제 끝을 봐도 원망고 완나 달던 꿈은 나는 오늘 가 이게 진짜 너고 이게 진짜 너
Yo. Sorry, there's like a lot of words. Yeah. I'm reading the lyrics as they go. Yeah, totally. I'm gonna bring them up because there's some really amazing poetry happening here, and it's really fast. So I'm trying to like assemble all my ideas in the moment as we do here. But there are some very, very deep ideas. Yeah. Oh, all the lyrics are in Chinese. Or Korean. I'm an idiot. Korean to English. Let me look. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting so many like deep. So in classical music, right, we collaborate. That's kind of how everything happens. Everything is acoustic. You know, you don't really depend on like stage crews or everything or big record labels or big things to make people have things happen. You can just collaborate. You know, you get together as long as there's a piano or someone else with another instrument, you just come together and do things. So it's really easy to commit to projects. This is what these ideas send me to, right? The depth, the ease in creating a project, right, makes it really easy for those projects to kind of fall apart, right? If you have an idea with someone, you talk to them about it, you're like, oh, let's do these things together, and then in a second you're like, oh no. And it's okay because it's very low committal. Sometimes you invest a lot in those projects and you'll do them, and maybe you'll do one or two performances, and then you'll just, you know, that's its time. And sometimes that's the best way for it to work. That's usually how things in classical music work. You come together, you put together a concert, pianist, singer, you do the concert, you know, it's just the two of you. You find a space that has a piano, you sell the tickets, you get people there. You know, obviously big operatic performances require a lot more musicians, a lot more difficult. The point I'm trying to make, obviously this is not, the point I'm trying to make is that is so much less commitment than to a a group that has scaled to the point of this one, of BTS, right? So it's difficult to let go of things in my world, in the classical music world, in the small, isolated, acoustic live scenario, where you sell tickets locally and that kind of thing. It's hard to let go of those projects because they're so deeply meaningful and moving. But imagining to scale that to the size of this group, right? The millions and millions and millions of followers, right? The millions of people who listen all the time, who revere these singers in a great way, with reason. And all of that weight that goes along with that, and creating tons and tons of music on tons of occasions with the same people all the time. You hear that fabled story of the bands breaking up, right? Bands are always, after time, you hear about band members resenting each other. They're always together. They're doing things. That's not really how people are supposed to be, but it's for the sake of the music. So they stay together. So they keep things going. And this song captures that idea so notoriously well. Here's the first verse. Goodbyes are for me a tear. Without even knowing, it blooms around my eyes. The words that I could not bring myself to say flow down, and lingering regret crawls over my face. To me, you were once my dear, but now you're merely a bitter beer. My heart that's stained with belated self-loathing becomes empty even with the passing breeze. At the end of my play, where breakup was a lie, the price that I had to pay came to me. If someone said they would turn back the time for me, would I have been able to be a bit more honest? It almost feels like, we put ourselves in situations in life where you can tolerate a little bit of toxicity, right? And you just say, hey, if I just keep this in, if I just keep this little bit of toxicity, this frustration or whatever, if I just keep this inside, it'll go away, right? Hey, Cosmic, thank you for those 1,500 bits. That's awesome, man. Kicking off the Summer of Singers event. It's so cool. I feel like we're like Destiny 2. If you maintain a little bit of toxicity, you're like, oh, I can just deal with this on the inside. Whenever you're in a relationship, whether that's a romantic relationship, a collegial relationship, a business relationship, or a musical relationship, right? Toxicity will always fester, right? Especially if it's between you. If it has nothing to do with another person, you can probably figure out a way to deal with it. But if it's between two people, as in like a music group, right? Between two or more people, that toxicity will fester. And that's what it sounds like it is, That's what it sounds like this first verse is about. You were once my dear, but now you're a bitter beer. It's like, it's nothing that you want. You go through it, you drink a beer, you get a little buzzed, you're partying. Even if it tastes bad, you still drink it, right? Just a little bitter, right? The bare face that only I know, the ugly and pathetic old friends within me. Would you still be able to love me again like before, with that smile with which you used to look at me? Stop saying things like forever, forever. After all, the end originally exists. It does. That's the other thing. When it comes to things like this, there's always an end. Music is ephemeral. Music only exists in the moment. Yeah, we can capture it in recordings, but even with recordings, you can't look at one part of music consistently. You can't observe it. You have to experience a beginning and an end point, whether that's a small clip of a song or an entire song or an entire career of an artist. Everything comes to an end. You have to look at everything in context. There's no moment in music, even though music itself isolates moments in a drawn-out way. If there's a start, I don't want to listen to that. Words that are too correct or too much consolation, I don't want to listen to that. I was just so scared, because it seemed that perhaps I had never loved you at all. Although it was late, you were true, that only you loved me. Chorus, you're my tear, repeated. What more can I say? You're my tear. Verse 2, J-Hope and Suga. We walk towards the same place, but this place becomes our last. Although we used to talk about forever, now we break each other without mercy. Although we thought that we dreamed the same dream, that dream has finally become a dream. My heart is torn, please burn it instead, so that pain and regret, none of that would be left. So that pain and regret, none of that would be left, referring to the pain and regret. That's an insane thing, right? It's an insane amount of insight. A professor in my university days, I will never forget this class. He said, "You all must love music." And we're like, yeah, obviously we love music. We're here for music. We're here to become the best, classical musicians we can be in the world. And he's like, yeah, well, what does that mean to you? And a lot of people are like, well, it's making a living off of music. That's enough for me. He's like, yeah, you're going to get that someday. But what are you going to do then? He's like, well, I'll be living life off of music, so I'll just be making music and living. He's like, will that satisfy you? The only way you'll be satisfied is by loving it, right? Loving music means, what does it really mean to love? Are you always going to like that thing you love? No. Is it always going to be good to you, that thing you love? No. But loving something means committing more of yourself to something greater than yourself, right? Committing yourself to something greater without the expectation of return. That's really, when you think about it, that's what love really is. Committing yourself to a greater thing, whatever that thing is, without expecting something in return. We all start music with this dream of being like the best, right? And that happens for very few people, but it does happen for some. For example, this group BTS, like biggest in the world. And so they have that unique perspective of experiencing that dream. And in this song, capturing that idea that that dream is only still a dream, right? Even if a dream becomes reality, you make your living off of music. That's a dream for some. And when it happens, is it worth it, right? And not to say you shouldn't be making a living off of your music, but it's to say, is that drive going to sustain you once you achieve it? In a lot of cases, those dreams, especially if people shoot too low, they achieve that dream and they're like, well, okay, I'm there. If people shoot too high with lofty ideas, yeah, you have the inspiration and drive to achieve it. But are those drives sustainable at that point? In this case, they're capturing the idea that it's not. Saying that you dreamed the same dream altogether, but that dream now exists. You have that dream, but it's still just a dream. The reality is, in context of the rest of the lyrics and the story, it's clearly not. RM on a live stream said the peculiarity of the word tear. The word tear is interesting. Tear in English, you can shed tears. You can shed tears and tear the paper. So you're looking at, words that are spelled the same but sound different and mean different things. Homonyms. The word symbolizes what a breakup means to each other, or to each of us. It was tears for me, and then tearing apart for Yoongi. For Hoseok, it was fear. Talking about breaking up. Tear, tear, and fear. These are the three themes of the song. That's how this album ends. Yeah. Yeah, but I love how uniquely. I love how what uniquely, uniquely unique. I love how unique their perspective is, because these are real people at like literally the top of the world who are just trying so hard to relay their story to a huge group of people, right? So that's obviously like a factor of their success is the fact that they strive so hard to share the deepest reality of their circumstances, even though their circumstances are one in, a billion circumstances. 1 in a billion circumstances. And yet they're still trying so hard to relay that experience to as many people as they can. And that can be felt by millions and millions of people because they do it incredibly well. Where are we in the song? I don't want to get ahead. We'll finish up. Okay, so I think goodbyes are TEAR. Yeah, we were just hearing the song. Because things like tears are a luxury. There's no such thing as a beautiful goodbye, as beautiful goodbyes. So just begin now. Ooh, take it easy. Slowly carve out my heart. That's right. Gently step on the shards that have shattered, so that regret such a thing will no longer be left. Please burn up my heart that was torn into shreds. That's right. Right there. What are you hesitating for? This is the ending you were wishing for. So go on and kill me without hesitation. Burn it up. Burn it so not even the ashes remain. And in a way, this is capturing the fear, right? So what a lot of people do to deal with fear is face those fears. And in this verse 3 of the song that I just read, it's almost like they're reliving the moments, or they're creating moments of those fears so that they can face it themselves, right? A really cool analogy that a lot of people, or similar circumstance that a lot of people probably watching this or in chat might understand is Nightwish. The band Nightwish, the song The Poet and the Pendulum. It's all about the composer, Tuomas's real-life experience of having to fire one of their band members. And the song basically creates the circumstances of the worst possible outcome of that, which was tearing him apart. It was like a very big media thing. But in a way, by living that experience through the song, I'm sure it was quite therapeutic, right? The theme of the song reminds me of how Rammstein, Ohne Dich, which also apparently started out as describing how they almost broke up during the production of one of their albums, but realized they couldn't be without each other. Without you, I cannot be. With you, I'm also alone. Yeah. Yeah. And so by putting that energy, by putting that toxicity into a piece of performance art, a piece of music, right? By putting that toxicity in, you then, it acts as a form of therapy, right? For the musicians. And like I was literally talking about this in the car the other day, about how what we do here is not isolating of any genre, right? What we do here is talk about music and singing as a performance and how it relates to the human condition. I love that we can go back and forth between like dark metal, dark symphonic metal, and BTS and find these parallels. Because at the end of the day, we're all human, right? And we're a lot more similar than it seems. So BTS, I mean, they're sharing and creating circumstances in their performance that act almost as exposure therapy, right? They're creating these circumstances where they're killing each other in the song. And viewing that reality and feeling that reality is a therapeutic way of working through this toxicity that came up naturally as a result of being a world-famous superstar music group, which we've seen hundreds of times over with different bands and groups all around the world. This is the real you, and this is the real me. Now we've seen the end, and not even resentment is left. Wait, what? Nice. I've woken up from the sweet dream, and I close my eyes. This is the real you, and this is the real me. That's the next verse. And here we are at verse 5. Let's keep listening, and then we'll go over the text of verse 5.
그것만 빌려서 꿈을 대야 내 심장이 찢겨져 찬란히 널 태워줘 고통감이야 그 무엇도 남지 않게 좋았지 좋았지 You my hair You my hair You my feel You my feel What can I say 좋아 어떤 날이 내가 줄 우리 남은 정해 있는데 내 답은 어렵지 왜 흘리는지 어쩌버리는지 소용없어 내게는 이별은 내가 그 순간에 사소한 네가 그 말을 하는 순간 우리의 초점을 부딪히게 되는 순간 모든 게 위험한 순간에 그때가 쭉 오게 돼 I'm good I did you good 그런 말을 모두 당겨와 앞으로 다가와 너도 시작한 끝에 있어 날 만나는 나의 trigger 저희가 나 부르는 figure 못될 거야 너 밑에
Okay, it's about to end, but I wanna recap on all these verses. Well, not recap. Let's continue on the analysis, and then we'll recap. We walk towards the same place, but this place becomes our last. Although we used to talk about forever, now we break each other without mercy. Although we thought that we dreamed the same dream, that dream has finally become a dream. My heart is torn, please burn it instead, so that pain and regret, none of that would be left. A repetition, right? So now we're at the bridge. Then you're my tear. That's the repeating chorus. Now, at the bridge we just listened to. What should I say? We know the answer is fixed, but replying is always hard. There's nothing else to say is basically the point. Why are you spilling it? Why are you tearing up? It's useless to me. Goodbye to me is only those moments. Flashback. The moment you say words from your mouth. The moment our focus becomes irregular. At the moment where everything is dangerous, our end that 2 letters handed to us, that I won't cry, that I won't tear up. I'm curious as to what our end that 2 letters handed to us means. Oh, I see. There's actually an annotation. 2 letters are given the, quote, end, because in Korean, the word end has with the prefix, I don't know how to pronounce it, which is considered 2 letters in Korean. Okay, so it's an etymology thing. That's fine. I can't say those kinds of words. In the future, I too break up incurable disease. You're my beginning and my end. That is all. My meeting and my farewell. You were everything. Step forward, fear. It will be repeated. Caused by you. Tear. Tear. Wow. Wow. I mean, there was that one moment, right? There was that one moment where it was like hopeful, right? Verse 4. But I guess in saying that not even resentment is left is actually like the acknowledgement of emptiness as a result of that carving out of the heart. Man, this is so heavy. I think I've said everything that needs to be said about this, honestly. It's at the end of the day, it's just a performance that is completely unearthing that really harsh reality that even if you're at the top and even if you're the biggest in the world at what you do, right? These festering emotions can be magnified to the point where it turns into this toxicity. It's hard. BTS makes you think, that's for sure. Absolutely. I mean, it's really heartfelt. It's really sincerely heartfelt. And not to mention the incredibly fast articulation is absolutely unreal. BTS celebrated their 8-year anniversary this weekend, so very happy they didn't disband. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think few bands in the context of the whole, world of music really last 8 years. Think about it like a TV show, right? Very few TV shows go past like 3 or 4 seasons. Even fewer go past like 6 or 7. Can you imagine being a band and just being around each other all the time, performing nonstop? It's way more commitment than a TV show, right? Or being on a TV show. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, thank you for that tier 1 sub for Weird Denise. All right, let's close this one out. This is incredibly heavy, but it's great. I mean, it's a really fantastic insight. And we'll spin the wheel after that. How was that? How about that?